becoming well. Well. Becoming well. Well.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Becoming Well podcast. I'm back into podcasting. Woo! That's where you're going to play that. It's going to be like some right there. So, if you know me, then you know I've been potting. I started potting in 2015, 2016 with the Something to Brag About podcast. And I let the Something to Brag About podcast go. I also was doing the 313 live show with that guy Rail, and that was a great show. Again, back in 2015, 2016. So if you have been following me, then you know I am not new to the podcast game. And I have been silent in the podcast game. And I won't be silent anymore. So welcome back to Danni B. But this time it's Becoming Well podcast. So what is Becoming Well podcast? It's a podcast about wellness, to just, put it simply. But honestly, I'm on a new journey, a new path in my life. And wellness is all that I'm focused on. Mentally well, spiritually well, physically well, emotionally well, fitness, health, parenting, wellness in all arenas, right? Like I'm a mom now. When I was podcasting last, I was not. So wellness just all around is what the podcast is going to focus on. It's mostly going to be me because I am becoming well. But also I will have guests on periodically to talk about all the things well in their life, things that maybe are not going so well in their life, and then some other little surprises along the way. So thank you for coming on in to Becoming Well podcast. And so we're going to get right into it. Okay, so if you remember when I used to podcast back in the day, I always had segments. And so I love segments. They're my favorite thing. So, of course, I'm all about branding and just making everything flow and tie together. So my segments have cute, fun names. Of course, I'm going to do a call back to an old podcast segment. But the first segment that we're going to get into is the wellness check. So the wellness check is just a check-in with going to be me, myself, but also checking in with you. Like, what's going on with your life? And if I have a guest here, what's going on with them? So my wellness check, I would say I'm doing well, apparently, but I just have such a new just grasp on life, a new look on life, a new just everything about life. And honestly, I've never felt as calm as I am in life right now. I've never felt as whole as I feel. And I never felt like I could accomplish the things that I'm able to accomplish now. I've never felt that way. I have been, I guess, just existing in a way. And something just sparked last year where I started connecting with life. And not in a way where it was like, I need to do this because, or it just kind of was like, I got tired of the contentment of my life and I wanted to change it. I just was feeling incomplete. So I went on this journey to become sober. And so that's what today's message and episode is going to be about, is why I became sober. So my wellness check is that I'm doing well. And I think I'm doing well because I'm in a sober place. And I do think that like sobriety expands more than just substances. You can be sober from people, sober from concepts in your mind, and just sober from things that are holding you back. So I'm doing well. How about you? So the next segment is called the honeycomb. And the honeycomb segment is the large portion of the show where we kind of just get into the honeycomb. It might be sticky in there. It might be sweet in there. You might get stung. Who knows? But in the honeycomb is where we're going to do some self-discovery. And so I'm so excited. So today's show, of course, we're talking about sobriety. And so over a year ago, I decided that I wanted to just stop. And that's really the message that I got. But it the why didn't come until after. And I think there's a message there. Like, you don't have to always know why you're doing something to discover that down the line. So I can remember going to parties and going to places where once you stop drinking and stop smoking, you realize that everything is centered around drinking and smoking. Specifically drinking, because it's a legal activity and it's widely accepted by everyone. I mean, smoking is legal too now, but they still drug test for that, right? So alcohol, it has a different acceptance over compared to like weed. So I just was at these parties and these places and I was feeling like I don't know why I'm here. But also I felt like the alcohol was keeping me there. Like it kept me there. It kept me doing things that I didn't have to do, didn't want to do per se. And it didn't give me a reason. It just kind of left me kind of like feeling like I'm having an outer body experience. I remember being at a picnic and just drinking and not wanting to be there, but also not wanting to go home. But if I was sober, I would have just left. I would have just went home. And so really coming to that understanding, like, this is not fulfilling me in any way. It also is not really working. I don't know if I hit the capacity button for alcohol. Like, tequila is the drink of choice for everybody. So I feel like we was drinking that, and tequila don't do it. It just don't do it for me. And I just felt like, why am I doing this? And I didn't feel the need to change the liquor. I just felt the need to just stop. And that was confirmed with me at the altar. I was praying to God at church, and I was having a moment with God. And I had been wrestling with the idea of stopping, and God was just like, stop. Like, I was wrestling with the idea outside of the altar, and then God was just like, stop. You don't have to do this anymore. Just, and I don't. And so that day I was like, okay, God, and I didn't question him. And that's how I feel like God speaks. God don't be speaking and like, you need to stop drinking liquor. He's just going to give you one or two words. You all know where to apply them at in life, and then like move accordingly. So I applied it to where it needed to be applied to, weed and alcohol. And I just felt so good after that. I thought about feeling a lot of anxiety about saying, no, I don't do it. No, I don't do it. No, thank you. No, I don't drink or smoke anymore. And feeling like anxious because I know what the follow-up question is going to be, but I just felt like I had to stand my ground. So I also felt anxiety about all the social things that were coming up where alcohol and weed would be present. So I feel like I went on the test of my life, right? The test run, it was like girls trip. It was game night. It was tailgate season. I'm Greek. You know what I'm saying? It's like holidays. It's birthdays. It's this. And then a big one is my birthday, right? So it's like all these things going on where alcohol is front and center. And I don't care what nobody say. We gathering. We having a good time. But everybody want to know, what is the drink of choice? What is y'all bringing through? You know what I'm saying? And I just had to be like, no. And I can remember one time feeling like, dang, I'm bored here. Like, I don't know. Should I not? Like, and I was like, I wasn't going back and forth with myself, but just my thoughts were like, this would entertain you, but it also is like, it's just drinking. How is it going to entertain me past me being able to entertain myself? So I just was like, no, I'm not going to do it. And I can remember so I stopped June 1 of 2025. And I can remember getting close to my birthday. My birthday is in February. And so I can remember talking to my aunt maybe like in October and November of 25. And I was just like, I was just trying to debate on if I should drink for my birthday. And my auntie was like, no. I said, well, I want to toast. And then she was like, oh, because I just turned 35. And, 35 is a big birthday. And so she was like, you can just toast with some sparkling cider or something. And I was just like, dang, you know what? I can. So I had made up the decision in my mind that I was not going to break my sobriety for my birthday because, of course, I've been hit with a bunch of different things of like how you can, or like some people only drink for their birthdays, or some people only drink for occasions. Like, oh, I only drink for celebratory events like graduations and parties, engagements. So I've been hit with a bunch of different proposals on, oh, you're not drinking. Oh, well, will you drink for this or will you drink for that? You know, somebody passed away. Will you, post something out for them? You know how people do. So once I felt like my birthday was the big moment. It was the big thing to say yes or no. And once my auntie said that, I kind of set it in my mind to be like, all right, I'm not gonna do that. Plus, I had just gotten in the gym in July of 25, and I felt like that really propelled my gym gains. So I didn't want to like sacrifice those either. Also, God didn't say like stop until, he kind of just said stop. And so with that being said, I kind of had to keep that, I honor that. So I had all these reasons why, right? Like reasons why to stay sober. Like God said stop. You can also replace it with something else in terms of like you don't have to drink wine or cider, not cider, champagne. You can do the sparkling cider. So had all these reasons on why to stay true to what my decision was, and I really didn't have no reasons to break it. So I appreciate that part of the journey. Oh, and I had all these reasons on why I should stay true to my sobriety, and the main one was God did not tell me to stop. He just told me to stop drinking. He didn't say stop until June. Stop until just do it for a year. Stop until your birthday. Do it. He just gives when God gives instructions. He doesn't give you like a timeline. He gives you stuff indefinitely because that's how God moves. Like he's an indefinite God, and so I know He wanted me to stop indefinitely, and so now I think that's the journey that we need to find, right? Like when God tells you to do something, like what is He telling you to do? How long is He telling you to do it? Is going to be on the journey, right? If you pick up sobriety, right? God's going to tell you how long and for what and from what. If you pick up abstinence, that's pretty clear until marriage. You get what I'm saying? God wants us to honor our bodies in certain ways. So I knew when God said stop that it was like it's done. And I think we sometimes try to play with ourselves and play with God and be like, until I'ma just and that means that we didn't consult Him. And so in the event that you get an answer from God, and then you are going down your journey and you feel like, I don't know. Well, I don't know what I should do now. Go back and consult Him, right? I think that I didn't necessarily go back and consult God, but I never got a good enough reason why I needed to start back. You know what I'm saying? I never got a good enough reason. Like, it's no big celebration that's good enough for me to break my sobriety. You know what I'm saying? And so I've just stuck with it, and that's where I am. That's where my heart resonates. Sobriety has become something so phenomenal to me, though, because one, it's something that I decided to do in a state of like freeness. I wasn't forced. I was not in trauma. I did not have something big happen that caused me to have to put down vices and things like that. I just boldly walked into the idea that I can choose sobriety when there is nothing wrong. I can choose health and wellness when there is nothing wrong. I think a lot of times in our community, we wait until the downfall to be like, I'm about to turn it around. But with this sobriety journey, I want people to know two things. One, I can celebrate my sobriety just like any other victim, right? But also, I don't have to be a victim. I can just be the victor. I can just walk victorious into the door, mark joy as it relates to my health and my wellness. I don't have to wait till something comes down on me. And honestly, I think that's why I'm doing well in life. I don't want to live a life that is overshadowed by trauma, drama, trials and tribulations. I don't want to be going through anything. I'm not going through anything, right? I feel like you go through what you put yourself through, right? Life is going to life, whatever. But you can choose happiness, you can choose joy, you can choose peace, you can choose all these different things, right? Just by making the decision to be obedient to yourself, just to honor yourself. I can remember telling someone about my sobriety story, and she just feeling so empowered because nothing happened, right? But I also want to say this. And if something did happen, and it's life, right? We can make mistakes that we can come back from. We can learn things, right? I think a lot of people are looking for the downfall, like, why you stop? What happened? And nothing happened. But if it did, so what? And that's just life. Cause my sobriety journey is no different than somebody who is one day sober, right? It's no different than somebody who is 20 years sober, right? Like the choice to get up and say no every day is literally the same. The battle may be different, but the choice is the same. So that is where I resonated, and that's why I wear my sobriety journey like a badge of honor. The last piece to the sobriety, and it did not come along until down the line, is me honoring my mother. So I want to dedicate this episode and my first year of sobriety to my mother, Wendy Bragg. My mother died 5 years ago, and in the time in which I knew my mother, I have never known my mother in a sober state. Meaning, she would have her vices and things like that, but there was never a time in my life where she was clean, and so that I know of. And so my mom did not raise me, so I know limited information of her in terms of her day to day. But what I knew of her, um, she was she was consumed by the addiction, the disease, for sure. Um, a lot of people tell me how my mother was and what she did for them. And so I lived through that. You know what I'm saying? I also lived through the times that I had her because I knew her, whether I lived with her or not. I knew her since I was a young child, and she was in and out of my life throughout my life. And especially when I got pregnant, she definitely was in my life after, since Demi was born. Like she showed up to be a grandmother for sure. Um, my mother lived a very hard life and a very painful life because she didn't get to develop. I think that she was frozen in the age and person that she was when she first encountered drugs, right? So my mom has 7 children. I'm the middle child. I'm the fourth born child, and and I'm 35. And for 30 years of my life, my mom has been on drugs. Then that just kind of tells you of like how much life was robbed from her in terms of like when my mom passed away, she was 56. So I was 30 when she passed away and she was 56. So that just tells you, like, that gives you an idea of how much time was robbed from her, because I have the idea that she was frozen where the addiction started, right? And I don't know if that's the first use, but it really be the first use for a lot of people, right? So if it's the first use, if it was 30 years ago, or 35 years ago, then that's how much time that was robbed from my mother. And that's how much time um, that she didn't get to grow up. She didn't get to experience life. She didn't get to go on and be all that she could be. So I want to honor her in my sobriety, and I dedicate this first year of sobriety to her because she, I cry too much. Yes. So I want to dedicate this first year of my sobriety to my mother, to honor the years that were robbed from her, to honor the life that she did not get a chance to live. And my hope is that I could live up to whatever dreams and aspirations she had in life. So, how I want to close this segment is, what are you becoming sober from? What are you putting down? Is it a substance? Is it an activity? Is it a person? Is it a group of people? What is it in life? Is it a place? Is it a mindset? What are you uh, becoming sober from? Share it in the comments. Let me know. The next segment is called The Stinger. And so this is going to be a segment where it's different from the honeycomb because the honeycomb is kind of sticky, right? But the stinger, and maybe not today, but we will ask questions, or I will ask questions that will be focused on like asking the hard things, right? So that's why it's called the stinger. And so all of the stinger, the segment of the stinger, all of the statements will be introduced with "Be honest." Be honest. What are you still consuming that's keeping you disconnected from yourself? Right? And so if we're being honest, sometimes that may hurt, right? Sometimes they may not feel too good. And so that's why it's called the stinger. So for me, what am I still consuming that's keeping me disconnected from myself? I would say sometimes social media, right? Like the doom scroll will take you under, especially if you own a certain platform. We not gonna say, right? I think that um, we waste a lot of time on social media. We waste a lot of mental energy on social media as it relates to like what people think about us, what they're doing, what they mean by that post. Oh, she just posted this sentence, this status, and now I don't know if she's talking about me. I don't know. We spend a lot of time wondering what and why that we could be putting into our children, our businesses, our jobs, our families. And so, if I'm being honest, social media is probably something that's keeping me disconnected from myself. The next segment we have is a little callback. And so the callback is to Something to Brag About podcast. This is like a throwback segment. We always had something to brag about. And so it was what was I bragging about and what was Dr. B bragging about? He was my co-host. Shout out to Dr. B. And so I think that, of course, I'm going to be bragging on my 1 year sobriety journey. Woo woo. Actually, it's a little bit over 1 year, but I'm definitely bragging on myself for making it 1 year sober. And I'm also bragging on what's to come. Like, I feel like you can brag on the future, right? So, my something to brag about is my 1 year of wellness, my 1 year of, that's 1 year of fitness. I got a lot to celebrate, okay? Okay. So, in closing, I want to give you guys a permission slip, okay? So, this week, you guys have permission to live out loud. You have permission to choose yourself. And you have permission to become well. Thank you.